I call on the Parliament again to refuse this agreement without any hesitation. It is the sale of Iraq and its people. Muqtada al-Sadr, leader of the Sadr movement.
Welcome back to Inside Iraq. We are discussing the U.S.-Iraq Security Pact, soon to be voted upon by the Iraqi Parliament, with Hoshyar Zebari, Saleh al-Mutlaq, and Asma al-Musawi. Before the break, Saleh al-Mutlaq, you wanted to comment on what Mr. al-Zebari said. Go ahead.
Yes, I was trying to say that I think it's time now to stop justifying the occupation on Iraq, and just by saying that there are hundreds of thousands of people can demonstrate now with all this chaos that we are living in now. I think this is very unfair, and people who are suffering from the unavailability of the electricity, the water for drinking, and the complete collapse in the industry and agriculture and economy and in the political lines. I think this is very unfair, and I think people, the Iraqi people, if they hear us talk about this, they will be very annoyed. This time has passed, and all the people who were justifying that before, they feel sorry. And I was hearing one of them yesterday. He said, I was sorry to join the opposition to have the change that we are having now. And I feel, he said, I feel that I really did a very terrible mistake. So it is an invitation for all my friends to forget the past and concentrate on the future. The future of Iraq is in a danger now.
Give him a chance, Dr. Saleh. Give him a chance to answer. Go ahead.
I was making a point to differentiate fact from fiction. It was a point that the Sadris would not have been able to have this demonstration in the streets of Baghdad without the regime change. This is a fact.
Actually, for the Friday prayer, we have made this prayer about 5 years before the fall of the regime of Saddam, and actually we have restriction at that time, and still we have restriction after the fall of the regime. And actually we have about 40,000 people from the Sadr group only who are under the, they are non-convicted prisoner under the control of the American troops. And we have about thousands of prisoners now for unjustified reason in the Iraqi prisoner. This is not new for us.
Before the negotiation regarding the security pact, the Sadrist movement, they were saying that we will be very satisfied if the U.S. troops would leave in about 10, 15 years. We should schedule their withdrawal, perhaps spread over a decade. Now Hoshyar Zebari got you an agreement where the U.S. troops, you will see the back of them in 3 years. So in comparison between 15 years and 3 years, that's really something, isn't it?
Actually, we are always differentiate between professional people who are saying that this is the sufficient time for the security institution to be able to handle the security matters in Iraq. And we are ready to handle with any period that the security institution say that this is enough for the security institution to handle the security matters.
Mr. Zebari, we just heard Asma al-Musawi saying that she does not believe that the date is going to be honored, meaning to say 3 years from now, the Americans will still be in Iraq.
Well, this is bad faith in the agreement, basically, and mistrust. The Sadrists, actually, and Muqtada Sadr before, we heard him asking for 200 years timetable for the U.S. If they will give such a promise, he will renounce violence and will accept. And some others, even Mr. Mutlaq and other oppositionists to the agreement, made a lot of noise about the timetable of withdrawal. And now we have a timetable. Now we have a fixed date for the withdrawal of the U.S. forces. The agreement itself is called the Agreement between Iraq and the United States on the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iraq. The question is, I think it's time for all Iraqi leaders, politicians, not to be intimidated.
Saleh al-Mutlaq, in summary, Hoshyar Zebari saying that some Iraqi politicians and political leaders are taking the moral high ground in order just to justify their position towards their people, while in fact, in reality, they don't see the very essence and the good things that the agreement has brought to the table.
Well, I agree that, you know, the agreement brought to the table a timetable for withdrawal of the American troops from Iraq. But in reality, it will not happen. This is what scares us and what makes us taking such a position. We are saying from the beginning that we want two timetables, one for the withdrawal of the American troops, whether it's going to be with 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. The other one is correcting the damage that the United States made in Iraq, the mistake that happened by the American side. So what we want now is the parallel time that does not exist. We want now a guarantee from the United States and from the Iraqi government that these damages will be corrected so that we will be able to tell the Americans to leave at the time fixed, and then we will not have a chaos.
One other guarantee, Saleh al-Mutlaq, has been requested by the regional countries. Hoshiyar Zibari, recently you were in Syria, and most probably when you met with Bashar al-Assad, he questioned you about whether Iraq is going to be a launching pad for military operations against neighboring countries. Abu Kamal was attacked by US troops from Iraq.
Yes, and my answer actually to my Syrian colleagues and friends was, had we had an agreement, this attack on Abu Kamal would not have happened, because the activities of the US military would be organized according to this agreement. We have reassured our neighbors, Syria, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the Arab League, some countries in the GCC, Kuwait, that really there is nothing in this agreement that will harm their national interest. Iraq will not be used as a base or a launching pad for any aggressive actions against their own national security interests. This message has been delivered loud and clear to all Iraq's neighbors.
Final question, Asma al-Musawi. The agreement stipulates that the security contractors will not be immune from Iraqi prosecution. But from what you read within the agreement, are the US soldiers will be subject to Iraqi law?
Actually, this have been mentioned in the pact, and it has been said that they will be subjected to the Iraqi law during their off times.
Duty.
And actually, all the crimes that have been submitted by the American soldiers toward the Iraqi people, it was during their duty time, not on the off time. This is first. Second, the first announcements of the American responsible person, it was from General Mike Mullen, and about 3 hours after the signature of the security pact with Mr. Hoshiyar Zibari and the ambassador of United States, he announced that there is no commitments from the United States government about the withdrawal of the American troops on 2011, and it will be subjected according to the circumstances found on the ground.
Well, my final question to you, Mr. Zibari. Many Iraqi politicians, they objected to the mannerism, the way this agreement was negotiated, the haste as well as the secrecy. Answer Asma and answer my question, please.
Well, first, really, there has been no secretive discussions about the agreement. I think all the political leaders have been are well aware of the negotiating stages that we've gone through, the difficulties we faced, and the achievements that have been made. And we've said from the beginning, there is no hidden agenda here. I mean, this would be a transparent process that would be discussed and openly debated. Unlike many other countries who have this security agreement or SOFA agreement, they are state secrets. This has been publicly debated and discussed. As for Madam Musawi's comment on Chairman of the Chief of Staff statement, I think I mentioned earlier that in fact that statement was corrected. The United States is committed to pledge those dates that have been agreed in the agreement.
Saleh al-Mutlaq, we're going to close with you. Just looking at this agreement as a detached politician, how do you look at it? Is it a good deal or is it a bad deal for Iraq?
Well, it is not the deal that the Iraqis would like to see at the end. But unfortunately, we've been squeezed by either accepting the agreement or going on a chaos. So therefore, we are insisting that we don't want the chaos, but we want, if there will be an agreement, we want an attachment to the agreement to correct and to amend what was done at the time when the consultation was only between small group in the government and mainly al-Da'wa party and the American side.
Saleh Al-Mutlaq, Hoshyar Zibari, and Asma Al-Musawi, thank you for being guests on Inside Iraq. To access the show and to send us your comments, please go to aljazeera.net/English. We have reached the end of this show. Join me next week when we take another look inside Iraq. Until then, this is Jassim Azzawi. Goodbye.